It is rumored that one of these schools is haunted by the ghost of a young girl who died there. But it gets even scarier. The school was built on top of an old cemetery, and when they dug up the graves, they didn't find skeletons, they found bodies. Here's the story. In 1865, a group of businessmen in Hartford, Connecticut, came together with a proposition. They were going to start a boarding school for boys, but unlike other schools, this one would focus on the spiritual development of the boys as well as their academic development. It was called the Collegiate Institute, but soon after opened as the American School for the Holistic Education of Boys. But despite the best efforts of the teachers, it just wasn't a profitable business model. So in 1901, the school closed its doors. But the building didn't stay empty for long. A private school for girls called the Kingswood Oxford School moved into the building and seemed to be doing quite well. That was until the Great Depression hit and the school couldn't afford to pay their teachers. By 1932, the school was forced to close its doors once again. But there was no shortage of buyers for the building because all around town, people were talking about how cheap it was to buy the so-called haunted school. The rumor was that a young girl named Helen Viola died in the school and her ghost still walked the halls at night. But that's not the whole story. See, Helen Viola did die in the school, but she wasn't a student. She was the daughter of the janitor. And the story goes that she died from a disease called the Laughing Death, or LOL syndrome. And ever since then, her spirit has been trapped inside the school. And she appears as a white figure walking through the halls and shaking the beds of sleeping students. But that's also not the whole story. The school was built on the site of the Cedar Hill Cemetery, and when the construction crew began digging up the graves, they found that some of them were still occupied. They didn't find skeletons, they found books, and to make matters worse, they found out that those bodies were originally buried in the 1840s and 50s. This meant that some of the bodies were only 20 years old. Instead of finishing the construction and dealing with the aftermath, the crew filled in the graves and covered it with the new school. This might explain why some of the students reported hearing disembodied screams and seeing shadowy figures running through the halls. But that's also not the whole story. Over the next few decades, several teachers and students died under mysterious circumstances. There was the Latin teacher who fell down a flight of stairs. Then there was the basketball player who was found dead in his bed after suffering a sudden heart attack. And don't forget about the poltergeist, a ghost that can move objects with its mind. Students reported seeing books fly across the room and doors slam on their own. After a while, people started to believe that the school itself was cursed. And in 1972, the school was demolished. But when they went to clean up the site, they found that the foundation was too strong to break up. So they simply built a new school on top of it. And today, no one knows where the spirits of the former students and teachers have gone. Maybe they are still haunting the halls of the new school, or maybe they finally found peace when the demolition crew gave them a proper burial. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below.